others were hurt. Now to an NBC 10 investigation, the fingerprint of a firearm. It's a new way for Philadelphia police and the ATF to tackle the plague of gun violence. Investigative reporter George Spencer gives us an exclusive look inside the lab where these crimes are being connected.
This is the T-shirt Robert Gottwalt was wearing the night he was shot.
It was a .40 caliber bullet that went through my back.
This is the bullet hole?
That's the bullet hole.
In June 2015, here on his father's Kensington porch, he interrupted a robbery and gunfire rang out.
I had flashbacks. A lot of flashbacks.
There you go.
He's now paralyzed from the waist down thanks to a bullet fired by this man, Amin Akridge. Gottwalt's dream of a life in law enforcement, gone.
He's taking it away from me. I could have been a cop by now.
As it turns out, Akridge did the same thing to others as well. Investigators linked him to 7 different shootings with 5 victims. Police were able to make the connections based on shell casings that were found at the crime scenes. Those casings contained the fingerprint of a gun. The gun will leave the same impression on the back of every bullet it ever fires. It's nothing new in a shooting investigation, but it wasn't always standard practice in Philadelphia to collect and test every casing.
They weren't done efficiently beforehand.
Robert Sakata is the assistant special agent in charge of Philly's ATF and the head of the Crime Gun Intelligence, or CGIC, program. For decades, Philly PD only analyzed the ballistic evidence needed for trials. The other shell casings detectives collected at crime scenes sat in backlog until the collaboration with ATF began 2 years ago. The extra work can lead to more solved crimes.
Very often, we identify the shooter there that's using a firearm 2 days prior to shoot at a stop sign or a car.
The NBC 10 investigators were given exclusive access to the lab focused on matching up the fingerprints across tens of thousands of shootings. The team inputs every shell casing, every gunfire scene, 65,000 pieces of evidence each year.
You'll see a double line followed by a single line.
Then an ATF coordinator reviews the firearm fingerprint matches, often finding that shootings which investigators didn't know were related were actually committed with the very same gun.
Suddenly we have them connected.
Yes.
Within 72 hours, those unexpected leads are handed off to detectives.
It's very fast intel we're getting from every piece of ballistic evidence that we're recovering.
Over the past 2 years, Philly PD Deputy Commissioner Dennis Wilson says its ballistic evidence backlog has been cleared. Each old casing now a part of the database of firearm fingerprints for comparison.
It allows us to take all of our collaborative efforts and to identify, investigate, and incarcerate the trigger pullers.
The shirt is just a reminder to me.
For Gottwalt, the program is already a success, catching his shooter with a casing that in the past might never have been collected or compared. Amin Akridge is serving at least 178 years in prison, a long sentence based on the multiple crimes that detectives connected him to.
Thank God they called him. Thank God. Because if not, he would have continued to do it.
For the investigators, George Spencer, NBC 10 News.
All right, let's get an update now on your First Alert neighborhood forecast. A lot of you worried about the rain impacting your weekend plans. Here's Chief Meteorologist Tammy Souza.
Oh, well, we are going to see some brief heavy downpours at times.